Good morning. And welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Fort Myers, where our mission is to love, grow, and serve. Or, as we might say, inspired by our bond of love, we commit to doing the individual spiritual work to transform ourselves, that we may actively serve others by actually embodying the 8 principles that are our covenantal community bond. A special warm welcome to each and every one of you here today. If this is your first visit with us, no matter who you are, whatever it is that led you to be with us this morning, or wherever you are on your spiritual journey, we hope your expectations of being in a loving, supportive, and welcoming community will be fulfilled many times over. And if you've not already done so, we hope that you will please fill out a connection card available at the table in the narthex so that you can share your contact information with us. It is the best way we have of being able to actually be here for you as you explore your spiritual path and the many facets of the UU faith tradition. If you have been with us for a long time, and I see some of you who have been, we hope that you will be inspired and recharged with enthusiasm as we work for the greater good of this beloved community in process. My name is Gary Robbins, and I'm honored to be your worship associate once again this morning, along with a host of others, seen and unseen, who make this service possible, including our powerful little choir and music director John Dalton, organist Jeff Letts, as well as our incredible tech team with Walter and Brian and Isaac, and I'm not sure if they have additional help this morning or not, but who helped make it possible for you to participate more thoroughly in this service here in the sanctuary, as well as for those of you zooming in from your current location. Just a couple housekeeping details. During the service today, if you are on Zoom, we would ask that you please keep muted and do not chat during the service. And for those of you who are with us in person, please keep your phones on mute while you are here in the sanctuary. We are very pleased to welcome Reverend Sue back to our services. Even though it's been, what, a couple Sundays? It seems like we've missed you a lot. So we've had some wonderful services, but we still have missed you. And along with a man who has held just about every title that is possible to hold in this congregation, Mr. Bill Petrarca, who will be sharing the honors with Reverend Sue, exploring an exciting new option approved by our Board of Trustees for our congregation to create a community-based program which celebrates the values that we hold so dearly. And lastly, before we start this service, we wish to acknowledge our history with the Calusa Indians, on whose unceded land we reside, as well as the presence of the Miccosukee and Seminole tribes, and all of Creator's creatures from whom we have taken and occupied this land. As descendants of those who came to build a new life on this continent, and in the spirit of this month's worship theme, which is trust, we know we cannot right all of the othering wrongs of the past, but we are continuing to do the work to reimagine a brand new dream of our country that is built upon respect for all of the UU principles we profess in our covenant, and help make them manifest for all our citizens in all the work we engage in to create an environmentally sustainable, spiritually fulfilling, and socially just human presence on the planet. And now, let us join in continuing our transformational, heart-centered wisdom quest as we begin our morning service.
Our call to worship this morning are in the words of Karen Armstrong. She says, "Religion is not about accepting 20 impossible propositions before breakfast, but about doing things that change you. It's a moral aesthetic, an ethical alchemy. If you behave in a certain way, you will be transformed. The myths and the laws of religion are not true because they conform to some metaphysical, scientific, or historical reality, but because they are life-enhancing. They tell you how human nature functions, but you will not discover their truth unless you apply these myths and doctrines to your own life and put them in practice." How do you do that? She says, look into your heart. Discover what it is that gives you pain, and then refuse. Refuse under any circumstances whatsoever to inflict that pain on anybody else. Let us begin, as Unitarian Universalists begin all over the country and world, by lighting our chalice.
This chalice is for the living, the changing, the becoming. This chalice is for losing the script of your life, the chapters about who you are in other people's stories. This chalice is for the lost GPS that was supposed to show you how to get where they expected you to go. This chalice is for skipping the directions, coloring outside the lines, painting, not by number, but by silence, by wild abandon, with a brush you made for yourself from the light deep within. Startling, vivid, a new voice that already knows you. Finally, a true story. And now, let us stand and renew our mutual covenant as we say together, "Love is the spirit of this congregation, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another." And now, let us join in singing hymn number 1, "May Nothing Evil Cross This Door."
Go
So I have a couple of little short stories. You guys want to come up and sit with me? So this is a very cool book, and I'm going to give this to you after we read a couple of stories, and you can take it back with you to your seats, and you can keep reading and looking. Absolutely, you're welcome. You can keep looking at it. So these are wisdom tales from Africa, and today we are going to be talking about the Charter for Compassion, and this is a global library book. It has wonderful stories from all across Africa. And sometimes people may wonder why we even read children's stories or utilize the wisdom of literature, children's literature in the congregation. But it's really important to tell the stories in all different ways. So we sing the stories, we tell the stories, we actually experience the stories in silence. And there's a lot of wisdom. And so the first short little story I'm going to read is entitled, How Wisdom Was Spread. And it says, long, long ago, dear brothers and sisters, when the world was still new, there was a spider, considered to be, and thought of himself, it had to be said, as the wisest person or animal or creature in the land. However, he was also very greedy and wished to keep all the wisdom to himself, day and night, night and day. Kwaku Anansi, that was the spider's name, jealously guarded his wisdom until one day when he said to his wife, "It is too difficult for me to guard my wisdom all the time. Make me a large clay pot in which I can put my wisdom, and then I will put the pot in a safe place." Does that sound like a good idea? No? Well, when the clay pot had been baked by hand in the hot sun, he took all of his wisdom and he poured it into the pot and stopped up the hole with a piece of cork. You think it's all going to stay in? No, I don't know. He decided to hide his pot in a cave in the riverbank opposite his hut where nobody could see it. He lifted the pot with some difficulty and waded out into the water. Do you have an idea of what might happen? He might drop the wisdom, exactly. Unfortunately, the stones in the riverbed were very slippery, and the spider felt his legs sliding under him. As he fell into the water, the pot with all the wisdom in the world went flying up into the air, and as the pot crashed down against the stones, it smashed into 100 pieces. And all the wisdom of the world was washed down the river. The river, full of wisdom, flowed on out to all of the great seas. And that, my friend, is how wisdom has spread throughout the world. No, you don't buy that, huh? It's a pretty good story, though. I have one other short story I want to read you. And this is a little bit like a riddle. So I want you to think about it as I read what you think the monkey is doing. This is called The Crocodile and the Monkey, and is a story from Kenya. Crocodile asked Monkey to visit him. Monkey asked Crocodile, "How shall I reach your home when I don't know how to swim?" Crocodile smiled and told Monkey to jump on his back. Do you think that's a good idea? On the way, Crocodile felt hungry and asked the monkey, "Can you give me your heart? Because I'm feeling very hungry." Monkey thought for a short while, and this is what he told Crocodile. How do you think he's going to get out of this mess? I don't know, but monkeys don't know how to swim. He's kind of stuck, isn't he? So this is what Monkey did. He thought and he thought, and he said, "This is what we're going to do. We are going to go back. Because when we become friends with someone, we monkeys leave our hearts at home. Then Monkey added, "I am very weak and cannot be eaten. We will go back and I will get you my heart." So he's kind of tricking that crocodile into going back. Crocodile agreed with the plan, and when they reached the shore, Monkey climbed into a mango tree. Do you think that was a good idea? Maybe, right? Because crocodiles can't climb trees. So now I think the monkey's going to be safe. The monkey climbed into the mango tree, and he picked a mango. He threw it down to the crocodile and said, "There is my heart." Crocodile dived into the water and never troubled the monkey again. He was very smart. So we get wisdom from all different places, and you are both welcome to take this with you, and you can look at the pictures and read while we do the rest of the service. All right? Thank you.
And sometimes wisdom is not found in a jar or in the experience with a crocodile, but from within. So our Stones of Intention ceremony is an opportunity for us to express in our own very personal manner all that we hold dear this morning. Our intentions are often the root of future actions we consider taking to meet personal and social goals. In the critical times we are experiencing these days, we are being called to live out our highest aspirations individually and together with our shared values and action in this very community. Meditation is usually the foundation upon which we experience our deepest connection with the spirit of life, symbolized by our very breathing, literally breathing in the life gifts of the universe in the form of oxygen, breathing in the love of the earth, and breathing out our gift of compassion in the form of carbon dioxide in support of all our relatives who live by the process of photosynthesis. By focusing on our breathing, we offer a continuous life support process through the exchange of love and compassion. You are invited to come forward with your stone and allow it to symbolize any and all of your intentions, as well as your reflections, your prayers, joys, sorrows, or milestones in your life. If you did not choose a stone as you entered, you may choose one from the baskets on the chancel here. And I invite you to hold that stone in your hand, close to your heart, or pressing it to your forehead or to your temple. And those of you joining us electronically this morning may also place a virtual stone of intention by clicking the green button on our church website or the link in the Zoom chat box. Please come forward at this time to place your stone in the bowls of sand with others in this extended beloved community, that your offered intentions and meditations may be joined in the spirit of love, compassion, and peace.
I'll place a final stone for all that we are holding close in our hearts. Let us be mindful of the power of love and of community to heal and to uphold life. Blessed be, and amen. Let us join our hearts in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Today's prayer is in the words of my favorite Irish poet, John O'Donoghue. This is the time to be slow. Lie low to the wall until the bitter weather passes. Try as best you can not to let the wire brush of doubt scrape from your heart all sense of yourself and your hesitant light. If you remain generous, time will come good, and you will find your feet again on fresh pastures of promise, where the air will be kind and blushed with beginning. May it be so. Please feel comfortable to remain seated as we join in our reflective hymn, number 95, There is More Love Somewhere. That gave me chills. I wrote today this opening line that we gather with open hearts, seeking to deepen our connection to each other and the world around us. Maybe that's why one of you is here. I suspect we come with as many reasons as there are people for being together this morning. Today we will explore an idea that is profound and transformative, really. The value of compassion that can unite all of us. We're going to reflect on the Charter for Compassion, which is an initiative that seeks to restore compassion to the heart of humanity's ethical and spiritual practices. So no matter why you came here today, to think about compassion, because you know that UUCFM is an oasis, physically, metaphorically, in our world in this moment. Maybe one of the reasons is that compassion is at its core. Compassion is more than just a feeling. As I talked about in our opening words, it is an action, a conscious choice to engage with the world from a deep place of empathy and love, from a place that starts here, not here. It challenges us to see beyond our lives, to recognize, even when it's not comfortable, the suffering of others, and perhaps the way we might contribute to the suffering in the world. And then to choose to act in ways that alleviate that suffering. The Charter for Compassion will call us to live this principle. Its spiritual value reaches deep into our shared Unitarian Universalist history. It stretches across cultures, religions, philosophies. It was founded in 2009 by Karen Armstrong, who's a renowned religious scholar, a former nun, and the author of our opening words today. She started the charter in response to a growing sense of division and violence she felt in the world, even as a person of faith and a religious scholar. Her years of study in comparative religion led her to one clear conclusion. Compassion is actually the central tenet of every world religion. From the Buddha's teaching of loving kindness that you heard about a couple of weeks ago from Andy, who's in our midst today, to the teaching of Jesus and Muhammad and the ancient philosophers, compassion has been seen as the thread that binds humanity together. In 2008, Armstrong won the TED Prize. You know all the TED Talks that they do? Which came with some money, and allowed her to realize her dream of creating a global movement based on a central principle. She called upon people of all faiths and cultures to unite around one shared value, and that is compassion. The result was the Charter for Compassion, a document that articulates the importance of compassion in all human relationships and actions. The charter reads in part, "The principle of compassion lies at the heart of all religious, ethical, and spiritual traditions, calling us always to treat all others as we wish to be treated ourselves." Have you ever heard that phrase before? Where have you heard it? Your father? Where else? It's in the Bible. Very small print. There are about 40 pages of text here that list the iterations of what we understand as the golden rule in almost every language, tradition, faith, philosophy, literature. If anyone wants to take a look at them after, please do. I'm going to read just a couple. This was my favorite. This is an African proverb. One going to take a pointed stick to pinch a baby bird should first try it on himself to feel how it hurts. In Buddhism, all beings love life. All beings fear death. Knowing this, the wise man does not kill, nor cause to kill. And of course, in Christianity, one that you may know best. Therefore, whatever you want men to do to you, do also to them, for this is the law and the prophets. It's from the book of Matthew. In Confucianism, do not do to others what you would not like yourself. Then there will be no resentment against you, either in the family or in the state. In Islam, not one of you is a believer until he desires for his brother that which he desires for himself. This document also has examples from popular culture, and this was a tidbit I didn't know and loved. Evidently, in 1902, Mr. J.C. Penney opened a store in Wyoming, and it was called the Golden Rule Store. He believed in low prices and loving service to his customers, and was confident that, quote, by good service to our customers, we will create in them that spring of sparkling goodwill, which will prompt them to want to help us to serve them. He believed that between secular and sacred, no arbitrary line exists. The golden rule was meant for business as much as for other human relationships. This statement, the compassion, the Charter for Compassion, takes the golden rule and goes beyond. It's a challenge. It's a challenge to consider not only our individual well-being, but to recognize the suffering of others as equal to our own. It is a call to see every individual as part of the greater web of life, and to live with a deep awareness of how our actions impact others. We develop our compassion by first looking at what it means to be human. We live in a world of suffering, both personal and collective. And it is actually in this suffering where compassion is born. It doesn't mean feeling pity for another. It means walking alongside others, offering a hand, choosing to sit in the pain and the joy with others. For UUs, it aligns with our principles. Our principles echo the Charter of Compassion. It's not just a virtue, but it's a communal ethic. It calls us to act for justice, to create a world where everyone is treated with respect and fairness and care. As I mentioned, the spiritual origins of compassion are not only in the world's religious traditions. For those humanists and atheists and agnostics among us, it is also in the wisdom of the human heart. Simply, it asks us to transcend our self-interests and to connect with others. It invites us into deeper relationship, knowing that our individual and our community well-being is tied inextricably to the well-being of others. So as we reflect upon the Charter of Compassion today, I invite you to consider what compassion means to you in your own life, how you embody it in your relationships, your work, your community, outside of this space. Can you imagine in this moment a world where compassion is not only an ideal but a lived reality? And I have to say, in the stark contrast that we're experiencing in our government and world right now, it calls me to imagine what a difference it would make if all of these situations we're experiencing were approached with compassion. In the words of Karen Armstrong, compassion is the keen awareness of the interdependence of all living beings. It manifests itself in the desire to help. So I'm going to invite you to let us make compassion the heart of your spiritual practice, our spiritual practice, knowing that in each act of kindness, each moment of care, each choice to walk alongside, we help heal the world. Amen. We're not done yet.
Good morning. I thought I'd share with you, last night Jane and I were watching a video where David Brooks was talking to a large conservative group in London. And if anybody knows David Brooks, you know he's quite a speaker. But the gist of his conversation, his talk, was about culture change. And we're here today to talk about culture change. But what I took away from his talk was that culture change starts with a change of heart. And that it doesn't take much for culture to change. As he said, all it takes is a group of people in a culture who think of a better way of living. And when everybody else sees them succeed, they change. And there's a shift in the culture. And I think that's what we're talking about today, is that shift, which makes it important to me about what happened in January with the Board of Trustees when we took this action of affirming the Charter of Compassion. In a minute, we're going to have a video where some friends will actually tell you what the Charter of Compassion is. But first, I would like to set the context for this important board action, and then close with what are we going to do about it. You know, we're not just here today to talk, we're going to do something about it. So we'll talk about that at the end. So born of our deep interdependence, by affirming the Charter, we acknowledge that compassion is love in action. Love in action. It is essential to each of our human relationships and to into a fulfilled humanity. And as Reverend Sue said, sometimes compassion can feel like a passive emotion. But the Charter for Compassion makes it clear by affirming that we commit to restoring compassion to the center of morality in seeking social justice. So by affirming the Charter and the values for which it stands, we acknowledge that compassion is particularly crucial for supporting marginalized gender groups such as women, transgender individuals, non-binary people who often face unique challenges and discrimination. So after viewing this video, I'd like to tell you how we plan to build a compassionate Florida and how we can start by making our local community here in Fort Myers a city of compassion. So if the tech team would run the video, I'd appreciate that.
The principle of compassion lies at the heart of all religious, ethical, and spiritual traditions,
calling us always to treat all others
of our fellow creatures,
to dethrone ourselves from the center of our world and put another there,
to honor the inviolable sanctity of every single human being,
treating everybody without exception,
with absolute justice, equity, and respect.
It is also necessary in both public and private life
to refrain consistently and empathically from inflicting pain,
to act or speak violently out of spite, chauvinism, or self-interest,
to impoverish, exploit, or deny basic rights to anybody,
and to incite hatred by denigrating others, even our enemies,
is a denial of our common humanity.
We acknowledge that we have failed to live compassionately,
and that some have even increased the sum of human misery in the name of religion.
We therefore call upon all men and women
to restore compassion
to the center of morality and religion,
to return to the ancient principle
that any interpretation of Scripture
that breeds violence,
hatred,
or disdain
is illegitimate,
to ensure that youth are given accurate and respectful information
about other traditions, religions, and cultures,
to encourage a positive appreciation
of cultural and religious diversity,
to cultivate
an informed empathy with the suffering of all human beings,
even those
regarded as enemies.
We urgently need to make compassion a clear, luminous, and dynamic force in our polarized world,
rooted in a principled determination to transcend selfishness.
Compassion can break down political, dogmatic, ideological, and religious boundaries.
Born of our deep interdependence, compassion is essential for human relationships and to a fulfilled humanity.
It is the path to enlightenment and indispensable in the creation of a just economy and a peaceful global community.
Go to charterforcompassion.org and take a look at that video and the material that's at that site. But what I particularly liked about the Charter for Compassion was this particular line: to cultivate an informed empathy with the suffering of all human beings. And that's really what this is all about. So I believe we are called as Americans, as UUs, and as human beings to resist those among us, which I'll call the evil empire, extending an analogy that Reverend Arthur started last week. But the goal of this evil empire is one of division and oppression, using the instruments of hate, bigotry, extremism, polarization, and white supremacy to further their agenda of greed and power. But we have a not-so-secret force pulsing through our veins and dominant in our DNA. And that is the very basis for our humanity, and that is compassion. You could say the force is with us. You could say that we are the Jedi Knights of love. And our lightsaber is compassion. And we do not wield it with a clenched fist, but an outstretched, resolute hand of justice. And I just went on the internet this morning and said, what is the sign language for compassion? And it's an open hand over your heart and an open hand to the person you're talking to. And I think that really says it all. So here's what we need to do right now here in Lee County. The first step is to galvanize compassion partnerships. We are forming circles of trust. And under the auspices of Floridians for Democracy, we've begun forming those partnerships. And I want to share with you some of the people that are involved with that. FGCU has a center called ROC, and it stands for Roots of Compassion and Kindness. They will be training us on how to apply compassion to the work that we do. Reset, Gary has volunteered to be involved with Reset. Quality of Life Center's involved. Reverend Barron Staples is bringing his race and ethics group and his SALT ministries to the effort. We plan to bring in many of the life congregations and some of the interfaith networks that are in Southwest Florida. The Collaboratory has agreed to work with us. Gulf Coast Symphony has agreed to work with us. Their motto is community through music, and I suspect you'll see that change to compassionate community through music. And many of the chapters in Southwest Florida of the Indivisible group and other advocacy groups are willing to work with us in forming these circles of trust. Once we get these circles of trust going, we invite our civic leaders to work through local issues on the basis of formulating policy that is consistent with human decency, independent of political ideology. So this means that the community comes together to relieve pain and suffering wherever it exists. It's been said that service to others is the rent we pay for our room here on earth. And we pay that rent with the currency of compassion. So what we do here in Southwest Florida will become a model for UU churches throughout Florida. In my role on the UU Justice Florida Board, we have asked the 43 UU churches in Florida to follow our lead. And as a matter of fact, several of them are ahead of us already today. So there are communities in other states, as well as Florida, who are already seeing the benefits of compassionate cities. We are fortunate to learn from the successes of San Antonio, Texas, Louisville, Kentucky, Las Vegas, Nevada, and St. Pete's and St. Augustine's here in Florida, as well as dozens of compassion initiatives around the country. They serve as resources for us, and we are thankful for them. So I urge you to go to the charterforcompassion.org website, read more about what is a global movement in compassion. More importantly, I just want to conclude by saying that compassion requires that we do have a change of heart, and that compassion asks us to acknowledge the suffering within ourselves, our fears, our insecurities, and our wounds, and to treat ourselves with the same tenderness that we would offer to a beloved friend. So it is from this place of self-compassion that we as Jedi Knights of Love are able to extend love to others, and may the Force first be with us. From interfaith dialogues to grassroots movements for social justice, the Charter calls us to unite in common cause, recognizing that together we can create a community, a state, and yes, maybe even a nation, where compassion is the driving force behind all our actions, casting the mongers of hate back onto the ash heap of history once again. I'd like to close with a quote from Muhammad Ali, and I'll just say as an aside, the Muhammad Ali Center has just come out recently supporting the Charter for Compassion. I encourage you to go to the Muhammad Ali Center site as well. Here's his quote: The America we dream of is not impossible. It begins with us daring to believe, to act, and to lead with compassion. So if you would like to work with us in this important effort to meeting hate head on with compassion, please let me know or any board member know, and we would love to have your involvement. So I'd like to close by saying, may the force of compassion be with us all. Have a good day.
I hope you're all as excited as I am about the possibilities. It seems to me to be something that is just absolutely right for the right time. Speaking of the force, each Sunday we arrive here with an incredible bounty of time, talents, and treasures. And by the manner in which we choose to offer and to use these, we build our very personal version of a meaningful life. By our affiliation with this congregation, we have made the commitment of support for the fullness of life as expressed in the incredible principles of the UUA and for their propagation within our congregational life, and also for the promotion and adoption of their essence in our broader community life. Just as our work to make manifest the Charter of Compassion will be doing throughout Southwest Florida and the rest of the state of Florida, as we join others who have already made significant contributions to their communities throughout the world. Our principles are regenerative gifts that our state, our country, and our world so desperately need in this period of incredible political tensions, transition, and emergence. Our principles are a beacon we should continue shining to light the way for so much of our public discourse in these early months of this new administration. A message of spiritual and social transformation we must share and inculcate into the fabric of our community, as we have historically witnessed in actions led by and supported by the UUA in its many congregations, and including members of this congregation, including you, and you, and you, and you, and you, all of us. Now, as our custom here at UUCFM, all undesignated funds in the offering will be given to our community sharing partner, which this month is the Unitarian Universalist Association Disaster Relief Fund, a fund we know so well for the assistance UUCFM received from this fund following the devastation of Hurricane Ian. The UUA Disaster Relief Fund, it says on their website, is part of our covenant, a covenant between the UUA and congregations, between congregations who give generously and those in need, and with our community partners. Through aiding our congregations, their members and their community partners, we are able to embody our faith and values. And for me, it always comes back to the embodiment of our values, the embodiment of what we stand for in real concrete terms. In addition to the undesignated funds, you may also designate a portion of your offering to the UUA Disaster Relief Fund, either on your check or envelope. And for those of you who are contributing online, please use the donate button on the website, marking it as you wish for community sharing and congregation. We are now invited to make manifest our commitment to this community and to be generous in giving support to the work of this congregation and our UUA Disaster Relief Fund during these very challenging times. And now, may you generously contribute to the great work of this congregation and our community sharing partner, as surely your contributions will be most gratefully received. Please rise. Let us say our words of gratitude. By the work of our hands and the work of our hearts, our love is made real. May we be grateful for all that is given and grateful for all that is shared. Now we will extinguish the chalice with our words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And let us all join in hymn number 128, For All That Is Our Life.
May we be filled with compassion. May we be gentle with ourselves and extend kindness to those in need. May we see the interconnectedness of all life and act in ways that restore justice and peace. May compassion be our guide, our strength, and the light that leads us toward a more just and loving world. Let us all go in peace.
We look forward to seeing you all next Sunday, both here on our Zoom address and in the sanctuary on our lovely campus. Please share the joy that you have experienced here today with all your friends and family. And there is going to be possibility for people online to be able to have communication and chats after the service is over. For those of you present in person, please join us in Hobart Hall for coffee and snacks. Thank you very much. Have a fantastic week.